So I made a video, this is probably like 5, 6 years ago now, about the hacker gangs. At any rate, man, they just made a big disruption, like in another one of these big hacker networks that they infiltrated last year, saving victims, including hospitals and school districts, a potential $130 million in ransom payments. One of the biggest hustles that these gangs do is they hack into like the network of a healthcare system or something, and they encrypt all their data so they can't access it. Then, in order to get the data back, you have to pay them. Okay, so it's basically like holding their data hostage, and this is like one of the most lucrative criminal hustles like on the planet. I mean, they make millions and millions of dollars off this stuff. A lot of these guys are in Eastern Europe. That's like the main area where these guys are located, from what I've heard. But some of these guys, I think, are in the United States too. But anyways, man, so they said, simply put, using lawful means, we hacked the hackers. That's according to Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco. She said that in a news conference. So officials said that the targeted syndicate is known as the Hive. That's their, like, again, cyber nickname. And among the like ransomware gangs that are active right now in the world, this is one of the top five. And they said that it's heavily targeted the healthcare industry. So this is kind of dangerous because, if the healthcare systems, they can't get their data back in time, they can't operate. And if they can't operate, people can die. Now, one thing that a lot of the Russian guys do is they check the finances of these hospitals and institutions before they hack them to make sure that they do have the money to pay. And then if they, come back and tell them, like, we don't have that much money, the hackers will come back at them with like a screenshot of their like bank account statements and talk about, yes, you do. It wouldn't be, there wouldn't really be a point in demanding money that they don't have. So they make sure that they have the money. Now, this particular network, I don't know if they do that, but officials said that this targeted syndicate is one of the top five on the planet. And the FBI said they quietly accessed its control panel in July, and they were able to obtain software keys that it used with German and other partners to decrypt networks of about 1,300 victims globally. So they hit about 1,300 different, institutions, organizations, etc. And apparently, some of these guys were in Germany. And like I said, that area of the world, a lot of these hackers are based. So they said how the takedown will affect the Hive's long-term operations, they said, is unclear. Officials announced no arrest, but said that to pursue prosecutions, they were building a map of the administrators who manage the software and the affiliates who infect targets and negotiate with victims. This type of crime, it's not as scary as far as like, you're not going to get a gun in your face when you're walking to your car or something. But as far as the amount of money that this actually costs people, I mean, this is like, this type of white collar crime is far more expensive than the blue collar crime. I mean, a guy sticking up a 7-Eleven like is nothing compared to this. You do this to one hospital, you're going to get millions of dollars, and their ability to defend against it is minimal. Plus, the task of actually arresting these guys, tracking them down and arresting them, when in a lot of cases they're in other countries, and even if they're here, that's much more difficult. It takes way more resources, money, manpower, and just technical know-how, expertise, to get these guys. Like, you can't take an average like beat cop and put him on a case like this. You know what I mean? This is like way more involved in that. I mean, not that there's not cops that are good with computers, but I'm just saying you got to have specially trained people to do this. And sometimes the hackers can be like one step ahead even of, the most sophisticated like professionals in this industry. So it's a game of cat and mouse that a lot of times the mouse just keeps on getting away. But the FBI director said, I think anyone involved with the Hive should be concerned because this investigation is ongoing. So on Wednesday night, the FBI agents seized computer servers in Los Angeles used to support the network. Two of Hive's dark websites were seized. One was used for leaking data of non-paying victims. The other was for negotiating extortion payments. The infiltration, which was led by the FBI's Tampa office, allowed agents in one instance to disrupt the Hive attack against a Texas school district, stopping it from making a $5 million payment. So ransomware is the world's biggest cybercrime headache, they said. They said the criminals lock up or encrypt victims' networks, steal sensitive data, and demand large sums of money to get it back. Their extortion has evolved to where data is pilfered before ransomware is activated, then effectively held hostage. They said pay up in cryptocurrency or it is released publicly. So they like blackmail these organizations, and they say that we're going to make all your information public. And some of this can be highly sensitive information. And the thing about this is like there's people that know how to do this that can be like anybody anywhere. They're not people that you can target in a specific place. They don't just come necessarily from only one walk of life. There is, just as with, most types of crime, the various ethnic groups and stuff, they all have the type of crime that they pick. And like I said, for Eastern Europeans, this is one of the main ones. I think a lot of South Asians are into hacking too, like people in India and stuff and China. But yeah, a lot of this you're going to find in Germany and Russia and areas like that. But they said as an example of a Hive sting, Merrick Garland said that it kept one Midwestern hospital in 2001 from accepting new patients at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. So you see the kind of threat that this can pose. I mean, just because you're not getting a gun in your face out there on the street doesn't mean that it doesn't pose a threat to life. So the online takedown notice, alternating in English and Russian, mentions Europol and German law enforcement partners. The German news agency DPA quoted prosecutors in Stuttgart as saying cyber specialists in the southwestern town of Esslingen were decisive in penetrating Hive's criminal IT infrastructure after a local company was victimized. So in a statement, Europol said that companies in more than 80 countries, including oil multinationals, have been compromised by Hive, and that law enforcement from 13 countries was in on the infiltration. A U.S. government advisory last year said that Hive ransomware actors victimized more than 1,300 companies worldwide from June 2021 through November of 2022, netting about $100 million in payments. Criminals using Hive's ransomware as a service tools targeted a wide range of businesses and critical infrastructure, including government, manufacturing, and especially healthcare. So that's one thing that makes it like extremely dangerous, is that they target these healthcare people, Though the FBI offered decryption keys to some 1,300 victims globally, the FBI director said that only about 20% reported potential issues to law enforcement. So victims sometimes, they said, quietly pay ransoms without notifying authorities, even if they've quickly restored networks, because the data stolen from them could be extremely damaging to them if leaked online. Identity theft is among the risks. So you can imagine, like, if they get the information from like a credit card company or something, I mean, it could be a nightmare for like the company itself as far as having to pay out, But a guy named John Hultquist, who's the head of threat intelligence at the cybersecurity firm Mandiant, said that the Hive disruption won't cause a major drop in overall ransomware activity, but is nonetheless a, quote, blow to a dangerous group. So he said, unfortunately, the criminal marketplace at the heart of the ransomware problem ensures a Hive competitor will be standing by to offer a similar service in their absence. You can do this safely from another country. And, so then like multiple governments and police agencies have to communicate with each other to try to get you. And so it's, much safer, for the criminals. So one guy who's an analyst with a group called Recorded Future, which is another cybersecurity outfit, predicted indictments, if not actual arrests, in the next few months. There's a firm called Chain Analysis, and they did an analysis of cryptocurrency transactions, and they found that ransomware extortion payments were down last year. It tracked payments from at least $456.8 million down from $765.6 million in 2021. So the ransomware payments dropped by about, around like $300 million in 1 year. And now whether or not that's, due to the efforts of law enforcement, who knows? But, that is yet to be seen. But Chain Analysis said that the true totals are certainly much higher, and payments were clearly down. They said that suggests more victims are refusing to pay. So the Biden administration got serious about ransomware at its highest levels 2 years ago after a series of high-profile attacks threatened critical infrastructure and global industry. In May 2021, for instance, hackers targeted the nation's largest fuel pipeline, causing the operators to briefly shut it down and make a multi-million-dollar ransom payment, which the U.S. government later largely recovered. So you can see the type of people that these guys target. I mean, they target police, infrastructure, these hospitals and stuff. And it's one of the most dangerous things going on in the criminal underworld. I always bring this up, like when people start to like hate on the people that are still in the streets at this point. I always bring it up, like white collar crime is just as bad of a hustle, if not worse, financially for the country. And boy, when you see the report, I'm out.